Hi everyone, it's Michelle Lightworker here and welcome to Enlightened Conversations. I have beautiful soul sister with me, Annie Keightley. Is that how you say your last name? Is it Keightley?
Perfectly.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Okay. Awesome. And I haven't actually had to refer to Annie by her last name because we had just been on first name basis since we met. And we met last year on Psychic TV UK. And it was, I felt at the time, a real meeting of hearts. As soon as I saw Annie on the screen, on the big screen, and then I found out she was in Australia, it was kind of funny because we were the two Aussies that were sharing the screen from Australia at some point, so it was really cool, hey. But Annie's been a wonderful kindred spirit that I have felt very much, we're on a similar alignment in so far as what we're here for, what we're here to do. Annie's beautiful, and she's a singer, a dancer, a poet, as well as being an amazing psychic and healer, and really helping to channel through the goddess and help people to really align with their truth, to put truth in so that truth can flow out, so that they can actually feel like they're walking their purpose, their true purpose here on earth. And so it's a real pleasure to introduce Annie to you all today. Welcome, Annie.
Hi, everyone.
So how are you and what have you been up to, Soul Sister, since I last saw you?
How am I? Sweating bullets because of the heat. I think I've been drinking about 3 liters of water a day without fail. For me, it's been a very, very, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep, okay. For me, it's been an interesting journey with my work. What I've been finding since, I guess, been doing this professionally the last, 2.5, 3 years or so, it's my own personal journey of pushing myself beyond my limits, challenging myself, because we have to continuously challenge ourselves. We always have to, you know, practice what we preach. And that means stepping out of that comfort zone, to test ourselves, to understand what Spirit is trying to explain to us, because a lot of the times, as you know, Spirit can be very cryptic with us. So we have to, and I think it's more so for us to be, you know, to train ourselves to listen, because the work we do is about articulating things in a way so the recipient can understand at the level that they're at. So for me, it's been a growing journey. And, you know, I've been doing a lot of work with my writing, and also my mother goddess, who I channel. She's been putting me through a lot of attunement and shifting my energies to push me up and up and up, because primarily my forte is energy work. Because, you know, in terms of psychic work, one of the things I learned is that predictions can be given. And if there are blocks,
Yeah, if there are blocks, I heard you say. Interesting that you're frozen up there. We need your help, Mother Goddess, to help us with unfreezing the screen and hearing Annie. So what I'm hearing is that one of the things that you've learned over this last little bit is that Spirit is really helping to stretch and grow you, to grow your soul, to stretch, but also that the messages that you've been getting through have been a little bit cryptic, and the reason why you feel that they've been cryptic is to give you an opportunity to really, we've lost Annie, but I'm going to keep going and just feel into this because it's quite important information. So the reason why you feel Spirit is speaking cryptically to us is to help us to train us to listen. That's really interesting. Actually never thought of it like that before, that Spirit's actually training us to listen. But the message that I've got coming through around that is that we need to walk in some level of faith around, well, walking the journey. So for me, it's like we're given a piece of information and then we turn up and we do that in the form that we feel we need to do it. And then more is revealed. And so hence, if Spirit was to tell us everything all at once, it would be a completely different experience than if we were to actually walk the journey as well. So that's the message coming through for me around that. So it's, I'm sure Annie will log in again. So while we're waiting for her, I'm just curious as to any more information coming through around blockages, because that was really interesting. That when we feel blocked was, I think, the last thing she said. And then she dropped out. So maybe the message around that is that when we are blocked, we can feel, well, we can literally feel like we're dropping out of our connection with Spirit because we don't have the clarity with regards to what to do next or the next step to take. And so we're kind of feeling like we're disconnected, even though we're not, but we feel that way. Hence, we may drop out of the frequency. So maybe that's the message. So be interesting to see what Annie gets if she logs back in and we get her back into the conversation, if she resonates with that. One of the things that I forgot to mention at the beginning of introducing Annie is that she is actually a cancer survivor and thriver. So I really would like to talk a bit more with Annie about that as well, because it's pretty amazing, her journey on her cancer recovery. So we shall explore that if and when she comes back into the conversation. I'm just going to pause this here and just see whether or not Annie's able to reach me, because I do have my phone on silent. Oh, here she is. Hang on. Annie, you're back in, sweetheart. Hello, hello. You hearing me? Oh, I can't hear you, sweetheart. You're turn on your. No, I'm not getting audio. Hello. Sometimes it takes a second before it comes back in, but your pitch is fine, sweetheart. No issues there. Might just. Hello. You haven't accidentally muted yourself? Anything like that? Have a little look. I got you.
Okay. Goodness me. I disappeared for a little bit. The phone shut down.
So I just, you okay? You good?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, the phone just shut down. So I had to reboot the phone because it just heated up.
Oh, okay.
Never happened before.
It's interesting. I want to share what came through as your computer, as your phone completely shut down. What came through was the last thing that you talked about was like being blocked, and then as soon as you said blocked, it dropped out. And then the messages coming through around that was that sometimes when we have, when, like you were saying about Spirit speaking cryptically and us needing to listen, and sometimes we feel a bit blocked around that, and then you dropped out. And I was thinking that sometimes we feel when we don't know what those messages are, sometimes we can feel really disconnected, and when we feel disconnected, we drop out of that high frequency, even though we're still connected with spirit. But it's like it was literally like a physical representation of what I would imagine how we actually feel living on this planet when we're having a hard time knowing what these messages are that we're meant to be trying to decipher. But then the other thing I got was that we turn up for each step of the journey, and sometimes we have to walk some of the journey before the rest is shown. So yeah, I don't know if that relates to your story, but that's the messages that I was getting coming through when you dropped out. Looks like it's frozen, Annie. I can't hear you, sweetheart. I might just pause this. And hi everyone, we are back. And hey, you know what? A whole week's gone by. It's kind of cool. We decided that we were going to feel into what was going on, and this is a first, a take two, but it's a first. But we felt like there was something in it, and Annie and I really want to talk about that actually, because we feel it's relevant when technology doesn't work, works, is weird, things going on with it. There's always, like, you can look at it like it's just a thing, or you can look at it like there's messages that are inbuilt from spirit in that. So yeah, Annie and I are going to talk about that actually as a catalyst for the show, which I think is fantastic, because you and I, Annie, we've worked with television, internet, shows, you know, Psychic Today, TV. We've done all that, so we know this is not a one-off thing. Things happen all the time like this.
Yeah, yeah. What I find is, as you and I were discussing before we started recording, is that when we are doing readings and channeling and passing information on, what, you know, Mummy, I call Mummy, is just my mother goddess who I channel, or spirit gives us, is what we need at that point in time. Because we as human beings process information at different pace, at different rate. It's not to say that we, you know, one person's dumber and smarter or whatever. It's just our pace in how we process things. So they will only give you so much that you need at that point in time for you to be able to digest, to process, to have that, ooh, light bulb moment. Okay, I get it now, because there's a lesson there for that person's understanding and growth, not only internally but externally as well. So when they've got that down packed, then they'll give you the next installment. Okay, so it's the same thing for us with doing what we do. It's, and you know, we're learning every day, constantly. Like whenever I have after my day's work and I have my little debrief session with Mummy, I say, is there anything else I need to do? Where do I improve? How do I improve? Or how do I need to, you know, modify my healing technique, whatever, because it's constantly learning and learning. And when people actually take that on board and not rush it, it's so much sweeter at the end of the day, because you feel like a sense of satisfaction of, oh my God, I worked it out myself. Because all we're doing is just planting that seed, just as they are planting that seed for us to give to the others. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's so amazing, Annie, because this morning I was having a bit of I had a day last week, and I recorded all my shows in the first 3 days. And then on Thursday was Australia Day, and Spirit had told me to have Australia Day off. And then Friday, they said, don't plan anything for Friday. And so, and then today, and so I had a 4-day long weekend, like, and it was like weird, because it was weird. I don't understand. I got back from work after Christmas, and then I'm having a 4-day long weekend. But the message that was coming through for me, and I feel it's so on track to what you're talking about. It's ridiculous, because they were just saying to me, Michelle,
you see, when I'll just describe my processing, Annie, because I think it's really important to give people and you and me a voice to exactly like what I do. What happens to me is my processing is highly claircognizant, even though I hear it a lot. So I get a lot of information and ideas, like at a ridiculous amount. And so what they say to me is, this is beautiful for you to have time where you're actually getting all the downloads, but it's really great to have time where you're actually not plugging into all the ideas, that you're letting that sleep, and then finding things to do on your break that are integrating what had just happened through exercise and sometimes just resting, sometimes watching movies, and I'll get reinforcement of signs that I've just experienced. Having a break and having a breathe. Doing French, which is again I've decided, my husband and I decided on the weekend we're going to learn a language a year, once a year for 10 years, so 10 languages in 10 years. That makes a lot of sense to me why we feel guided to do that, because for me it's about expansion into other areas and slowing down the downloads that Spirit's giving me to apply in my activism and in my enlightenment activism. Because what can happen is, and people probably relate to this if they have any sort of manic tendencies, is that there's a lot of ideas streaming through, and then perhaps they don't earth things. Or what was actually quite eloquently put for me today to pass on was, it's about prioritizing. And people use the information coming through. Like there's a lot of information coming through, and they're like, but what do I do first? Or they're off on a tangent, and because they want to be in control, so they get that idea, they run with it, and they ignore perhaps the priority that was coming through. So this is really important for people on the one hand that may have not problem, but may have issues with processing too much too soon, but also with those who have a lot coming through, who need to actually learn to earth and to be in the goddess, which is the receptive, which is the not the yang, which is that energy streaming through and the doing, but in the being and the allowing. And so that 4 days was fantastic, because I had can you imagine, Annie, I've recorded it was 21 shows in 13 working days, and that's a lot of downloads. So Spirit saying, well, in the middle of all your recording, Shell, we're going to give you a 4-day long weekend. How about that? Isn't that great?
You need to do that, and it's all about balance. You have to, because you can't be operating on that level 24/7, or you crash and burn. And I've done that as part of my trials and tribulation and learning, where I was, working 18-hour days, and it got to the point where I was hospitalized because I crashed and burned. But that was part of my lesson. So, every morning, especially on weekends, like I give myself Sunday off. It's my time off. I switch off. Phone's on silent, no work, no nothing. I'm just time with mum, time to do the gardening, cook up food, watch a whole heap of movies with mum, and just be mother and daughter, just chillax time and laugh and be normal. Not to say I'm not normal, but just to ground yourself and be earthy and just be. But if in the event on a Sunday there is somebody that needs me, say for example on the lines, Mummy will tell me, you need to work for a couple of hours today, because there are certain individuals that really need her healing for them. So I'll go, okay, Mummy, I'll log on and I'll work with those 2 clients, and I know who they are, and I've done what I've needed to do. Then I've logged off. Then I'm off, toddling off to the garden or to do whatever. So you need to do that. And also for me, one of the process I have found when there's been heavy duty download, my whole body just starts to ache, and my crown is just like somebody's just put this huge box of ice on my head, and it's just throbbing. So that's when I go, oh, okay, I'm going through another shift because there's a whole massive download. So then I give myself an early night to process, and the next morning I listen to my body. If my body says sleep in, I'll sleep in.
Yummy.
And even if I'm wide awake, I'll just lay in bed and I'll just listen to some music, because I'll still be talking to you, and it'll start to, all the jigsaw puzzles start to fit in, and you go, okay, yep, I got that point, cool. Oh, okay, I got that point, cool. Yeah. And then I'll go, okay, time to wake up now. So it's like taking it slow and slow and slow, because I know that download is necessary for the next 2 weeks. Because
exactly.
Yeah, it's like they've already pre-planned what you're going to be doing, but they're letting you know so that you're not feeling so overwhelmed, and everything falls through seamlessly. That's the operative word, seamlessly.
And people want to know how, we're talking flow, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not go, 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 go. It's not. It's
Mm-hmm.
And people might think that, oh my God, she's recorded that many. Oh my God, she must be, oh my God. And it's not. I felt, to be honest, I did not feel like I needed Thursday off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was kind of enforced upon me. I felt, and you know what? It's kind of, I'll share it, because on Wednesday I got my period. And that was, you know, like that was my final day of recording, and you'd think I'd be exhausted, I'd just be in a heap, and I felt amazing. And then even Tony just said, oh yeah, that terrible PMS you've got, not like,
No.
you know, you didn't even know it, you know. And it's like, because we're in flow, and because I had a really good weekend the week before, and I'd rested, and that's how people ask me, how do you maintain your energy? It's because I do I listen, and I allow for that balance, Annie. My thing is, I want to get a lot done in this world towards contributing what Spirit wants me to contribute. But the thing that they always say to me is, when I say to them, oh, should I do a detox, or should I do a this, or, you know, puritanical stuff? They say, do not want that for you. No. And the reason they do not want that for me is because they want me to actually not allow the human experience to get in the way of the spiritual one.
Yeah. So
what they say to me is, we don't want you to be this puritanical, perfect. I don't smoke, but, you know, I don't, because I don't really, I've been there, done that, and that's not my thing. But, you know, I prefer not to. I like the air in my lungs. But, you know, they don't want me to be this perfect little angel person.
Oh, good. Do you know, it's not something that resonates. Look, with. I always say to people that there is no one here on this earth that can walk around with halos in our heads or around our heads. Yes, we all have auras. But we're human beings, and we're meant to have the normal human existence, the normal basic things that is our basic human right. But as you go through your journey, you work out what is no longer conducive for you, you discard it, and you work out, oh yeah, that's okay, because it's about maintaining your sense of identity. So this is where you can't go from one extreme to another. You got to keep a balance. If not, you're gonna go crazy. And this is where, you know, it's about honoring yourself. And it is okay. It's like I had somebody say to me the other night, a friend of mine who is a psychic, and I'm actually mentoring him and training him with his mediumship. And he said to me one night, he said, oh, am I allowed to have a drink? I said, heck yeah, go for it. You're meant to do that, because you've got to have fun. joy comes out of it. When you're happy and you're doing things that you love, of course in moderation, it just heightens everything even more so, you know, because you can't, it's just near impossible to be at that level all the time, you know. And
that's interesting, Annie, you should say that, because one of the things that I was told too is that, you know, as you're vibrating on a higher frequency, and the body the body kind of needs some lower vibrations to keep you here, to be honest.
yeah.
You know, so that's kind of an interesting thing that happens. So when you're really vibrating like I was first, it was just like, oh my God, don't even hold it, like, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like totally up there. And they're like, yeah, but it's, you know, it's pizza night tomorrow, and, you know,
you have to
just enjoy it. And so I was like, okay, cool. And I think it's great when it's guilt-free, because I feel like you're not saying, well, I'm doing something wrong. I'm just being a human being and enjoying it. And for me, I guess, I know this is my number one thing. I ask myself, and I invite people to do this, because if you're not sure if you should have a drink, or if you should have sugar, or whatever it is, coffee, whatever, just ask yourself this: does it interfere with my connection with spirit, my higher self? Does it interfere? If it doesn't interfere, then perhaps you're learning some stuff around that you need to be learning. I've certainly learned a hell of a lot about myself, because I didn't drink for many years actually, and that was actually precipitated because I was in a relationship with someone who drank, and they changed their personality, and so I didn't want to be in that energy, so I just chose to drink. But then it got to a point where it's like I was actually realizing I feared having a drink because of the old traumas, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so for me, I had to challenge that, and I have. And do you know what? I've never had an issue with my personality changing, or anybody else's personality changing around me that I've been in relationships since that time. So that's kind of extraordinarily interesting.
Well, I do resonate with what you're saying, because I've had, you know, a similar experience myself. And one of the things that I've learned to do is listen to my body.
Yeah.
I talk to my body.
Yeah.
And this is a point that, you know, you and I wanted to touch on last week. We didn't get a chance with the cancer.
Yes.
That taught me to listen to my body. Fantastic. That taught me what my body needed. That taught me what my body didn't need.
Yes. And
how much I utilized my body, how much I needed to rest my body. So there was so much knowledge I gained from that. Not only on a physical level, but also on an emotional and spiritual level. Yeah. So, and this is where sometimes I use that to explain to people that whatever traumas or accidents or things that are quite unbearable that you experience from a physical point of view, there is a reason for it. Yeah. Okay. And sometimes that reason is not something that you need to find out from somebody else, but it's a realization that you have to have within yourself, if that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And, you know, and it's also about changing your perspective. It's about changing your way of looking at it. And I have a favorite quote saying that I love is, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change the way you think about it.
Yeah, I love that too.
Okay. So one of the things with the big C was it removed my womb. I'm completely barren. I'm empty. I've got nothing there. I'm nada. It's empty. Yeah. And my biggest yearning in life was always to be able to bear a child and be a mum. My absolute desire, you know, because I'm very maternal. I have very, very strong maternal instincts. And, you know, what I learned to do through the process of my remission period and learning, and my time in Sydney when I first started doing the spiritual work and learned a lot, was that occurred because of things that were done to me when I was a child.
Mhm.
Those energies were still there.
Mhm.
Wasn't my fault, but it occurred. So in a sense, the goddess removed it and purified me.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Okay.
and that's awesome, and I think that's an amazing way of
and
seeing that.
And and what I learned to do with that big part is, and I spent the whole day basking in that glory of it, of that massive thunderbolt lightning epiphany, is I pushed all that love that I had in that belly of mine for another soul to grow. I pushed it up into my heart to give to others in the work that I do, the person that I am, to my friends, family, strangers that I have helped or who've crossed my path, because we are an embodiment of love. So just because, and excuse me, I am getting emotional because it is something that is so dear to me.
So wonderful.
That I have not publicly shared this story to anyone, and I'm sharing this for people to understand that. And I think my mummy is proud that I'm saying this out loud, because there are so many people out there who feel victimized or feel like they're a victim. And I'm here to say to you, you're not a victim. You can take that power back, and you can use that will inside of you and change your way of thinking and flick that light switch on and rise above it and continue being the embodiment of love that you are. And that's you moving forward. That's you making progress. And I suppose the bonus part of it is that I don't have to, every time I go past the shop, in the shopping, in Woolies or Coles, and I go past the sanitary section, I go, ha, I don't have to buy you anymore. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I have a laugh over it, but that doesn't mean I hadn't gone through, menopause and all that sort of stuff. And I understand, been there, done that. But it's also about mind over matter and how you can turn a tragedy into a victory. And there is a higher purpose for everything, and I am grateful for all the horrible things that occurred and what had transpired to be where I am now, because I've put all those demons to rest and I've risen above it. And I am still an embodiment of love, because God still lives in here. God still lives in here, in all of us. And it's about how you deal with that situation and how do you go forward with it. And that's what I try to impart in my clients as well as my students. You have the power to change it yourself. It's like an empty canvas. It's time for you to repaint. And I always say I had to die 3 times to come back to have this as well. And you got to keep going forward and forward and forward, because that's part of your soul's journey. And just as you've had, and so many people have had, that they rise above it. But the beauty of it, those lessons never stop. You keep going and going and going. So hence, going back to, I started to listen to my body. And if my body says, oh, I want chicken curry and rice today, great. Or I just want greens today. I just want to eat veggies today. Okay. I wouldn't mind having a couple of glasses of wine today. Sure. Granted, I haven't drunk for quite a while, but Only when I went back home to Penang for a holiday, I had a few drinks. But it was time for me to just be on that earthly level. You know, it was about keeping things in balance for me and having some fun. Because, you know, as the saying goes, you know, all work and no play makes you very, very mundane. But it's all about, you know, keeping in balance and listening to your body. And that's the biggest thing for a lot of people. You've got to listen. And I listen to my mummy in you know, implicitly. You know, if she says day off, I go, okay, day off. If she says work, work. And because they're there, she's my teacher, she's my guide. She's telling me this is what I want you to do. And I always say to people as well is that if you're not sure about something, just sit for 5 minutes and ask your heart. What does your heart say? Your heart says, yeah, do it. Do it. Your heart says, don't do it. Don't do it. Trusting your intuitions more. You know? And what you and I are here to do in some cases is to confirm they're on the right path, or how about you just tweak it a little bit? You know? You never say, you're wrong.
How's your audio cord? Is it plugged in all the way?
Yeah.
You can hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me well?
Yeah. It was a little bit, the reason why I'm asking is because we're talking about tweaking things. And it was an interesting process that you were quite clear, and then it went a bit quieter, and maybe it needs to be. That's okay, because it's genteel messages here. I just found that very interesting to bring attention to that. We do sometimes need to ask for tweaking. I agree. Sometimes it's the big question, and we're sitting with that. And we have to really, like literally, let's just clear our schedule and just sit for 5 minutes, just tuning into our heart and like clear it all away, vacuum everything away, spirit. Just let me sit with this one thing and just get clear on it, please. Yeah. And then other times it's that tweaking, like we were talking about earlier today, where it's hard to tweak when you're feeling like you're going off on a tangent and you're in that yang energy, because it's very pointy and it's very directed, and it's particularly in the stream. You know, if you picture a stream running really quickly and you're in the stream, and sometimes you just need to step out of the stream for a sec and sit by the riverbank and watch the stream and ask for the messages to come out of the stream. Which tweaking bits do I need to tweak? Spirit.
Yeah. And it's and you can't get it perfect all the time, because there's always improvement. And
that's why it's perfect anyway. That's why it's
exactly. As you know, the saying goes, you know, there's perfection and imperfection, as the saying goes. So, but so listening to your body is something that I really wanted to make a point. Like even today, before we were about to start this, I was sort of thinking, what are we going to talk about? And, you know, I could hear my mummy having a bit of a giggle when she was laughing, and she's like, it'll come out. And so and even for me to, you know, it's about pushing your boundaries and defeating that inner fear that you have, which is normal for anyone. And, you know, for me to have voiced what I have voiced today about the sea and understanding the reasons why, that was huge for me to share with people, because, you know, you automatically would think, oh, what would people think of me, or how would they judge me, and whatever. That's not what this is about. This is about sharing an experience for somebody and be a voice for somebody who has gone through something similar but is not able to voice it. So I'm here to say, hey, it's all good. Voice it. Say it.
Yes.
Take your power back.
Yes. I just want to say, like, just take a moment to say that I really feel so blessed and honoured for you to share that story and in this space, and it's really touched me deeply. So I just want to say thank you so much for that honour, honey. I really do. That's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I feel like it is a safe place, this kind of, that we're creating. And it feels to me like anything can be said and held in that sacredness, you know, because well, I feel like that's what we're modeling as well. And we're hoping that people can take what we're doing and be that person for someone who might need to say what they need to say and feel safe. There's probably plenty of people, like you're saying, that don't want to talk about it because perhaps they don't feel safe. And, you know, there are people you can talk to that are evolved enough to hold space for you, that won't judge you, that won't say, well, you know, I don't know what people say. It's so far away from my reality. But, you know, for me, I agree. These situations, cancer, other situations. I know there's another lady. I don't think she'll mind me talking about her personally, but she's been sharing recently. Her name's Maria Alita, and she's a psychic. She was on the one. She's, you know, been a psychic in the industry for a long time. I had a really good connection with her when I met her at the Festival of Dreams back in 2015. And I heard her speaking about being open, about being spiritually coming out of the closet. And she was talking about that. And I loved her no BS attitude about it. Like, she wasn't holding anything back. She's like, I am spiritual. Yes, I'm a human freaking being, you know? And I loved it. And, you know, so much so that I wrote, well, our first edition of Lightworker Advocate magazine, I actually, you know, wrote an article about coming out of the closet and put her photos there because I felt that needs to be honoured. And she was sharing recently about the fact that for many years she'd been on steroids for her asthma. And she had, about 9 months ago, she had a gastric sleeve put in to help her, because it wasn't the eating that was putting on the weight, it was the steroids. Now, I'm not 100% sure on what the gastric sleeve did, but it helped with some inflammation and things like that. So it's complicated. But she got a lot of judgment around people say, you know, well, why did you do? She's, you know, she's addressing that, and I feel that's really ballsy of her. And she's totally did a whole video on it, about an hour long, and everything like that, talking about it. And I remember I put a little comment on one of her things that's, you know, said, look, you know, miracles come in different forms, and they come to us when we're ready. And you know, I really felt that about whatever that situation was for her, was this was a miracle. And she's a miracle lady, like that's her thing, you know, her miracles, she believes in miracles. And so people, obviously, you can project onto a person such as, you know, that you're evolved. Well, why did you go and get surgery? Or you're evolved, why did you get cancer? Or you're evolved, why did you, I mean, this is Debbie Ford. Who's one of my all-time heroes, who wrote, you know, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. Now, she died a few years back of pancreatic, I think it was pancreatic cancer. Oh, you're an evolved person, why did you die of cancer? You know, we can do that projection stuff. My answer to that is that, like what you said, if you can't change something, then change the way you look at it, right? And I think that all these lessons and all the physical manifestations that we get, and all the physical things that we need to help us, such as surgery, blah, 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 I look at all them as us walking the path of our humanity and finding ways to transcend them and to find the miracle or the gift in them, like you did with yours. You said it was about me listening to my body. It was about me learning how to take care of myself. It was about me developing interestingly enough, a womb, a goddess, to channel the womb, because you're channeling the womb, right? It's kind of interesting, and then finding, and then finding that the way to channel that love. Wow, I felt it when you said, I brought my womb up into my heart. I just literally had tears. Like, I could feel them, you know, that magic. So. Yeah, easy to judge. I've even said to Tony, like, hey, if I die of something with cancer, well, obviously that's how I've chosen to go out. And obviously cancer's my friend then, because it's helped me get to the other side. So you know what I mean? Like, that's how I've looked at it as well. If I die from cancer, I've allowed myself to take it there, because I feel it's really important not to fear things. And so, yeah, I'm a big believer in, it's easy to judge the two dimension, but just let ourselves drop into the heart space when it comes to somebody and find out what those bigger lessons are going on for them, rather than just judge them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing that goes to relationships as a whole. And you see a pattern with a lot of people, and I've been through this myself, where you attract or you choose relationships that is not in your highest good, because you've lacked that self-worth, that self-value within yourself, because you think, well, that's all I'm good enough for, because of certain things that have occurred. If you think, well, if this is all, then that's all I'm going to attract. But it's about learning from that and go, well, hang on a minute, this is not working. And it's like, again, it's like the little pennies that drops bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit, and goes, oh, that is because I didn't love myself enough. That is because I was trying to fill a void, or that is because I'm trying to find a Band-Aid effect. You know what I mean? It's about healing and finding and being whole within yourself, and content and be comfortable within your own skin. And I went through that process where, because I did, and part of my lesson was, because I don't have a reproductive system, that doesn't make me a woman. And oh my goodness, Mummy gave me one heck of a talking to. And whoa, hang on a minute. Just because of that doesn't mean I'm not. I'm a whole lot of woman now. I'm a free woman. I'm a free spirit. And it's about, again, changing that perception, changing that way of thinking. And it's the same thing as the saying goes, any woman can be a mother, can give birth to a child, but it's how do you nurture that child? How do you raise that child? How do you love that child? So it's about putting into perspective. But again, this is all comes down to you, who you are and what you are for yourself, and your value for yourself. And it's taking the narcissism or the ego out of the way. It's about the real, true you, warts and all. And being happy, not being perfect. And again, in terms of what you were saying about, if you're so evolved, why do you have to do this? Why do you have to do that? It's about keeping things into perspective. It's keeping things in balance, because you're not being tunnel visioned. Because part of the process of being enlightened is about being open to different ideas and trialing it and testing it and see if it works for you or not. That's about being open-minded. That's my take anyway. Because
I agree 100%. Yeah, it is
something. Yeah, I mean, you got to try something at least once to know. But I'm not saying that you should go try everything. But what resonates with you, so you have an understanding. Because you got to take the judgment out. Because as the saying goes, you can have somebody that's constantly smiling and everything's perfect, but you don't always know what's going down deep inside. So you got to take that judgment hat off. Because a person's issue or problem or whatever they're going through, it's important for that person, because that's what they're going through. So
exactly.
Because you've had to do that as well. So this is where, going back to, sorry, I'm sort of backtracking a little bit with what you were saying about the downloads that we get a lot of. The downloads that I get, it's about what is going on in the masses out there, and how I need to be equipped to deal with those situations and help those individuals, so that I'm better equipped. It's a bit like a doctor doing the little prognosis after they've done all the tests to know how to treat the person. You know what I mean? So that's what a lot of the downloads are about, how I need to be equipped. So for example, if I have a full day of healing sessions, I'll have a whole massive download to equip me for that healing day for those clients, so that my energy is, on a good level, and everything flows perfectly. So there's no interferences or anything like that. So it's about how we learn to balance and keep everything into perspective. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm really loving our conversation, Annie, because it's really it's making me I was just like, it's so relevant to exactly what, and I just love it how spirit works like that. Like I'm on my jog, right? I want to share it with you. So I'm on my jog, and I usually go on a 10K jog walk from my beach to another beach and back. So it's absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't feel like exercise at all. Okay, it feels like a stroll in the park, because I run a bit and then I'll stop and walk and talk to a spirit, blah blah, right? So I'm like jogging along, and I'm like, so when you want to talk to me, guys, like they talk to me all the time, but like what you're talking about, like the downloads, and sometimes they're quite audio for me, and I'll get the download and it'll be very quick, very specific information, and other times not, but you can feel it. But yeah, anyway, they're like, no, jog along, we're polishing you up, we're polishing your third eye, we're talking to people like this eye, a little bit of a shine. I'm like, okay. So I'm jogging along, and we'll talk to you later around that spot. Oh, okay. So jog, and then later on they're saying, they're giving me all this. They said, one of the first things they said today was, when the mind is full, then it's easy to really go off on tangents and lose that priority thing and feel like you're in control. Like when it's full, it's very, very full. And for some people that can be full of negativity, like, a lot of stuff, other forms, negative thought forms they've taken on from the world perhaps, or from other people around them, or from internal, their own judgment of the situation. But when the mind is full, it's very hard for us to get in, they're saying. It's hard. And if we've gotten in and it's full of streaming, like full of downloads, then guess what you're missing is the prioritizing. And this was really important today, Annie. And they're saying, that prioritizing is really important. And so they were telling me about that. And then they said, when it's empty, and this is interesting, we're talking about no womb, being empty, the empty cup, and they showed me it. And they said, when the mind is empty, it can be easily distracted too. It can be easily full of things that are not of lower vibrational frequencies that are not going to serve, right? So they're saying, so when the mind is full of energy, but then also given time just to be at peace with that information coming through, and not to act or not to do anything, just to be at peace with it, sit by the stream, it is peaceful. And the priorities, they float up from the bottom of the pond like red flags coming up, and they say, this one first, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Yep. And I was like, far out. I mean, these are the kind of downloads I get. So I'm on this walk, and I'm like, what's the priority then? And I actually said, I know this might sound weird to say this, Annie, but after they told me that, I said, so what's my priority? And they said, your priority. I know, this is very funny. Spirit is funny. They said, your priority is to talk to people about the priorities. So funny. I was just like, the spiritual blonde moment. But it, that's funny. I know it's funny, but that's how they happen. And I think it's really important to just to validate everything that you've come in with today. And Spirit had me over there doing my thing, and then brought us together and gone, okay, girls, go ahead. You're on. Talk about all this. Blah, blah, blah. It all weaves together so beautifully. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's interesting because, and you will resonate with this, because I am a bit of a perfectionist. It's just a Virgo trait in me. Everything's got to be right, and constantly pushing myself, constantly trying to go higher and whatever. But one of the things that I've learned to do is allow that Leo in me to come out and just be a little bit more free and go, ah, it's okay. You don't have to be so pedantic. You got to just live a little. Because sometimes, well, not sometimes, pretty much every day, when I have finished my day's work, I always have a shower and clear myself and cut all the cords from the day's work, you know, sort of get back into my own energy. And I'll always sit in the temple and debrief with Mummy. And I'll ask her questions, you know, about certain things. And I'll always ask for healing to be sent to all those clients that I've dealt with through the day, so that the energy is still with them to help them through. So my job doesn't finish when I finish the call, or when I, you know, it just continues. So, and I'll have a chat with her about certain things or whatever. And she'll just say, go and have some dinner, put the tally on, and just veg. You got nothing to tell me? You don't want to say anything? She'll go, no, darling, just go inside, just sit, veg, or go and watch movies with your mum. Just go, relax, and go, oh, yeah, okay, you don't want to talk to me. And it's not that. It's because I've done for the day. She wants to give me a rest. She knows when she needs to give me more info.
Exactly.
So it's done. And she will be stern with me with certain things when she wants to be stern with me. But ultimately, I'm her vessel. So she will do things to me, or even when I have, like when Christmas period, even though the weather was so stinking hot, there were a few days I just couldn't work because I couldn't tune in. But I accepted the fact that she wanted me to rest, because she was putting me through an attunement. And because I was so relaxed, and I just went, you know what, I'm just going to be just relaxed, because I had the house to myself because Mum and my brother were away for Christmas. I allowed for the attunement to go through knowingly and unknowingly. And there were days where at 12 o'clock, I'm like, I think I need to go and have a lay down. And I would sleep for 4 hours straight, like a deep, deep sleep, and wake up so refreshed. But then I know there's been information given, or energy-wise, she's attuned me a little bit more for the next level. So, you know, it's a beautiful process that I've been experiencing, you know, and it's amazing, and you feel so blessed and so lucky, you know. And sometimes I doubt myself and go, Mummy, I want to make sure I want to hear you clearly. And she'll just laugh and she'll go, what do you mean you're not hearing me clearly? You hear me just fine, you know. Or I will see her, you know, I see her every day. Or where I'm in the temple, she'll come and sit with me like a mum does, you know. She'll just have a chat with me about a few things, and, you know, this person, you need to do it this way, and this you got to do this way. Okay, I'll keep that as a mental note. So they give you what you need because they want to give you balance, you know. So, and, you know, one of the things that she taught me to do was that, because I do a lot of astral traveling when I'm healing people, she's taught me that I can be in multiple places at the same time. And I had to do that early, I think last week, to do some healing session. I was physically here, of course, but I was also astral traveling, and I was in a couple of different places doing the work with her. But I wasn't drained. I wasn't anything, because that's the point I've got to now, where I can be in multiple places at the same time. So that's part of my training, to do the work that I'm doing. So, and it's about accepting and embracing, and go, I trust. And the biggest key thing here is trust. We have to trust what guidance we are given. Even if it doesn't make sense at that point in time, it does make sense at the right time.
Totally. I asked a question today, not kidding, this is so funny. I asked a question today about organising some stuff, and I had the thought, I'm not kidding, and I had the thought, and my husband drove past at that very moment on his scooter, coming back from the surf, or coming back from looking at the surf or whatever, and bipped me. Beep, beep. And I was like, And I didn't think anything of it, you know. It's, oh, yeah, it is, you know. Didn't think, oh, it's got something to do with the thought I just had. Anyway, so I'm walking a little bit further down the road and I had the same thought, okay, about organising this thing. And these guys go, and I never really get wolf whistled at. Like, it's not something that usually happens for me when I'm jogging. I just don't know. I just never, I don't know. I just, you know, it's not like, why wouldn't they? But I don't know why I don't, but I'm obviously in my own little bubble. Yeah. But I heard it. And I went, you know what? I just had that happen to me twice. Who bips at me and who wolf? No one. Well, I'm just minding my business, doing my little joggy, got my little bubble around me. Okay, what is it that you're trying to tell me here? Because, and they just said, don't overthink it, sweetheart. You're doing everything that you need to do. Don't focus so much on the physical aspect of this. Like, you know, your husband's saying you beep, beep, the guys, you know, it's about you, physical. That's the message coming through, the physical. Don't focus on the physical aspect of it. Don't focus on it. Don't focus on the 2D. Just go with what you've done. Don't overthink it. And I went, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. I said, yeah, because you've been listening to every single thing we've said, all the little steps in place. Don't need to go, what do I have to do? You've been doing. Just like you said, Annie, just like you said a minute ago. Well, what do you need to say? I have been talking to you. What are you talking about? Like, it's like sometimes we expect more when you're right. It's just, that's the little bit of information you needed. You've acted on it. Enough. Chill out. Go watch the telly. Enjoy. You know, and don't overthink it. Don't overdo it. You know, do being the operative word, right? And I think, yeah, and like I just really value what we've talked about, because I think, do you know what? What we've talked about today is so intricate about how so many questions that people ask us all the time is, how do you do that? They wonder how we do what we do. Well, this is how we do what we do. And I think that is really important information for people to understand. We are not psychics that, okay, we have the whole plan, we just have to turn up for it. That's bullshit. We are psychics that, like you said, Annie, trust the absolute smidgens of information we get. And not only that, we view them as enough. And because we can do that, we can relax and we can stay in the flow. And that, for me, is an enlightened psychic. So there's a very big difference from a control freak psychic and an enlightened psychic. And so for us, we're walking the enlightened path because we have that level of trust and faith and connection in spirit.
Because if you don't have that, I mean, speaking for myself, I wouldn't be where I am today. Even the day I went for my second round to the hospital to Brisbane on my own, I had to fly by myself. I had no fear because I just thought, you know what? You obviously know what you're doing. So I surrender. I had a ball. Granted, I was in a lot of pain, but I was just like, you know what? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I'm just going to go and enjoy it. And I still had this big pearly smile on my face like I do now, you know, because it is something that was not in my control. What was in my control was my attitude.
Yeah.
That smile on my face.
Yeah.
And I still remember when I was at the hospital, even though the doctor, my beautiful doctor, he said to me, he said, we don't know what's going to happen, do we? I said, no. And he said, I wasn't sure whether you were going to be here. And I said to him, I said, I wasn't going to miss out on my hot date with you. And he just pushed himself laughing. And I said, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. There's a reason behind all of this. And I trust. And even to this day, I trust implicitly, even if there's a decision I have to make or something that I'm following with my heart, that I feel it in the core of me, or I've dreamt about it, or I get given visions, or whatever the case may be, I'll always sit with mummy and just go, what is it? I may not know the reason why I'm doing it, but I'll get told this is something that you have to do because I know there is a reason for it. Yeah.
And the reason will always be in my highest good.
Yep.
It's about trusting it, whether it's about opening your eyes, and it's about expanding your knowledge. So I trust implicitly, and I just go with the flow.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, wherever it is that I am going to be down the track, I will be down the track, but I'm enjoying the here and now, the process that I'm going through.
Okay, we've lost sound. That's interesting. You're enjoying the here and now. Maybe that's all we needed to say to end on. I will trust that, and I will sign off and say thank you so much, Annie, beautiful Annie, for joining us. Follow the links on our YouTube for where you can find Annie, and we really value you, your energy, and your beautiful heart. Thank you, beautiful.